In this video, we will be exploring ego versus self-love and acceptance. Join me for the journey. Welcome back, my friends. I'm so glad that you joined us again on this YouTube video to learn more about what we can do to become our best selves, to present to others those things that are in us that are God-given gifts that help them and help us to form positive relationships and to learn tools to deal with pain, hurt, and move forward and progress in our lives. So today I wanted to talk about two things and the difference between those two things. The first one is ego. What is ego? Is ego something that we need to be aware of? When we stay in ego energy, what does that do for our progression? Does it help us move forward, or does it cause us to get stuck? And how can we recognize if we are in ego energy? And the next thing I want to talk about will be self-acceptance, self-love, allowing grace for self so that there is a sense of confidence. And what is the difference between ego and confidence? So let's get into this a little bit. Ego, to me, well, one of the best, really easy definitions of ego that stuck with me and hopefully will stick with you is the acronym EGO, edging God out. Now, our ego shows up in a way to create a defensive mechanism, okay? When we feel that we've shifted into ego energy, it really is just our ability, our nervous system kicking in to protect. That's what it is. And it's using our understanding, our strengths, kind of the knee-jerk reaction to create defensive mechanisms, to put a wall up, to either become aggressive or to shut down, or to numb out, disconnect. So that is ego energy. When we slip into that energy, which is a natural process, we all do it. It's just good to learn what that looks like, what that feels like, and then decide if that's where you want to go. Do you want to edge God out in this moment where maybe you're feeling some discomfort, where you might be feeling some pain or being hurt? Or do you want Him, God, the divine, to be invited in this moment? And we've talked a lot about ways that we can do that to help us progress through our thoughts, finding things as they really are, seeing the truth, or progress through our emotions so that we don't get stuck in them. Remember, emotions are just feelings. It's energy in motion. And we have high vibrational feelings, energy. We have low vibrational energy, feelings. And whatever energy we're in, or sometimes we get stuck in, we're kind of spinning around and around, kind of like we're in this whirlpool where we can't get out. That energy is going to attract other energy of the same frequency. So if we're in low vibrational energy, we're going to attract more. And that's kind of when you feel like, man, I can't catch a break. I have really bad luck. I keep going through the same self-sabotaging patterns. That's because we're in this low vibrational energy. We're stuck. We're not processing through it. And again, that can start where we're really aware of thought, or that can start where maybe we're really aware of emotion, our feelings. But one way that we can look at this is an ego defense mechanism. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what would it look like when we kind of shift into this defense mechanism to protect us. So ego is, again, for me, the acronym, edging God out. A lot of times we show up in ego defense mechanism energy when we're in a space of denial, right? Denial is the mind's defense against truth that we're not willing to look at or we're not ready to accept. Can you see how that's edging God out? Denial. That's ego energy. Another one is minimalization, when we minimize what's going on to make the problem seem smaller or admit that there's only a little bit of a problem, a partial problem, when we minimize it. Again, that's our way of defending ourselves. We're in this defense space of not wanting to feel pain. So another one would be blame, right? To make others seem like the problem, or the situation, the experience, the circumstance to seem like the problem, and not be willing to look within and see how maybe we're contributing to the concern or the issue or the trauma that we're in. Because we always contribute to some way. We're not meant to live in this life and experience this life as a victim, as if we have no power. And when we're in this place of blame, we are giving our power away. This person is making me feel angry. This circumstance is making me feel powerless. This situation, this trauma, this memory is taking away my peace. Whenever we do that, we are taking our power, and we do have power in those situations, and we're giving it away. So again, in the ego, when we shift into ego, one of the ways you can discern that is you're in this space of blaming. Another one is rationalization. Statements that we tell ourselves to make it seem okay. Also known as justification. Whenever we're in this space of rationalizing, we're in ego. We're in ego energy. And again, it's a space where if we don't look at things as they really are, if we can't be in a space of acceptance without judgment, then we can't call on God's power and his help to strengthen us in that moment and pass through it and stay in a place of authenticity, a place of high vibration. When we rationalize, we let ourselves fall. We let ourselves go to low vibration often. What would that look like? We'll make something really simple. Let's say that you have this beautiful hope to be in a strong and healthy body. And one thing you know that sabotages this hope is you've got a beautiful craving for sugar. You have developed through some choices in your life this craving or addiction to sugar. So you just finished lunch. It's only been a half an hour. You're really not hungry, but you think, man, I could really use that soda. Or you think, boy, a couple of cookies would be really good right now. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you've created a hope and that action is contrary to allowing that hope to come to fruition, strong, healthy body, and we rationalize, well, I didn't have anything yesterday, so today it would be okay. That is a very simple, probably very familiar experience that a lot of us go to. That's ego. Now, what would it look like? We're going to get into what that would look like if we do the opposite of ego. But that's one example of rationalization. Another one would be avoiding, not wanting to face our feelings, not wanting to face the truth or the actual work that needs to be done, just avoidance. That's when you're in ego energy. Another one is diversion. This one I find happens in my life a lot. Remember, whenever we're feeling triggered, whenever we're feeling like there might be some pain, emotional pain, mental pain, even physical pain, whenever we're feeling like that is rising to the surface or can show up and hurt us, we either get aggressive, we shut down, or we disconnect. And a good way to disconnect is to have diversion. You know, how many of us just pick up our phone and scroll through social media, or we're looking at videos, or we're playing a game? How many of us will turn on the television? How many of us just find something else to do? Maybe it's something productive. Maybe we get really involved in a project at work, or we get really involved with just work around the house. even though there's something there that we can look at and we can ask for divine help to process and progress through, the ego, when we're in that energy, will show up and it will try to divert us. Another one is apathy, which is really close to just shutting down. I'm just becoming numb. I'm just not caring anymore. Whenever we get to that space, we can know that the ego is taken over and we're edging God out. Another one is getting over emotional, really emotionalizing everything, making it really seem big. It's another form of aggression, actually. And when we do that, we can move from fear to anger, and we can just stay in anger. We can move from grief or sadness to numbness. We can move from maybe feeling shame to feeling bitter and start blaming things. When we over emotionalize, that can be a sign that we're in ego energy and we're edging God out. Another one is maybe the opposite, just letting go of your will and agreeing with everything, agreeing with what people say, agreeing with what people are asking of you or telling you, and maybe you feel like you really don't agree with what they're saying, or you see things in a different way, but you want to avoid conflict. So you just agree, you just become this passive person with no opinion. It's another way of avoiding the conflict, avoiding maybe hard talks that need to be instigated, maybe avoiding speaking your truth that you know to be true. Anytime we just go to a place of just agreeing without having a voice, without vocalizing maybe our thoughts or our opinions or our concern, that's ego's showing up. Another one that I want to talk about where there's ego is this thought of being terminally or always unique. Needing to be the one person that is so non-conformative that all attention is drawn or given to you. A lot of times we do that because we have a hard time with self-acceptance. And that is going to kind of transition over to, well, if we're not in ego energy, if we haven't shifted over to that where we're edging God out, then what would it look like? What type of energy would we be in that we could make a choice, that we could choose to be in? And the best way that I can describe that is self-acceptance, self-love, and then creating a space of grace for yourself, allowing you to experiment upon things and maybe fall short, maybe even make a mistake, but just allowing with this perception of, I'm here to learn, I'm a student, I'm moving forward with best intentions, and it's okay. It's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay if I make a mistake. It's okay if I need to tweak the way I'm communicating or interacting or creating. It's okay. Give yourself grace. So that self-acceptance, let's talk a little bit about that. We talked about this idea of ego energy being this terminally always unique, never conforming, always needing to be the one that stands out. Well, there might be lots of reasons that you feel a need to maybe move through your life that way. I would say one of the big ones, if we were to be really honest and just be still and with ourselves, is maybe we don't love ourselves. Maybe this self-acceptance is really difficult. And I want to clarify what self-acceptance is. That doesn't mean that we just give up and we kind of throw our hands in the air and think, well, nothing's ever going to change. I'm just going to accept what is. That's not what we're talking about. Self-acceptance is seeing things as they really are with the help of divine insight and accepting it. This is the way it is. This is how I'm feeling right now. This is my circumstance. And without judgment, just looking at it. What you don't feel, you can't heal. What you don't recognize, you don't have stewardship over. And what you don't have stewardship over, you can't progress or ask for God's help to understand and gain wisdom and have experience and move forward. Now you have understanding. So acceptance is that courage to look at through unjudgmental eyes things as they really are. So if you can find this self-acceptance, and then a lot of times that self-love comes. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's trauma and there's triggers and there's things that are needing to be looked at and healed from our past so that we can shift over into self-love. But can you see if we can look at ourselves, and if we're having a hard time loving what we see, that's when we can go through the repentance process to our Father in prayer and ask for Christ to heal the emotion that we're stuck into. Maybe it's disgust. Maybe it's pain. It's just hurt. It's grief. It's sorrow. Maybe it's fear. What is it that's standing in the way of you seeing yourself as you really are and accepting it and loving it? Loving it for what it is in this moment today, with the hope that through this pattern, we're going to be growing, we're going to be processing, we're going to be in a space of progression and ascension. So I love having this thought that if we can be in a space of discernment and know when we're shifting into ego energy, where we're edging God out, and take a breath, recognize what's happening. It's probably our default. I know it has been for me for years and years because I didn't even know there was another way of processing or experiencing life, or what the benefit would be to being real with self and allowing emotional, mental, spiritual pain to show up and processing through it and getting it healed. That's just kind of our regular pattern or programming that we go into. We get in this ego energy and we're in denial, or we're minimizing, or we're blaming, or we're avoiding, or we're diverting, or we're in a space of numbness. I mean, there's so many things that we can shift into when we go into ego, or we can choose to recognize it, right? Ask to discern when that happens. Take a deep breath and go to self-acceptance. Help me see things as they really are and accept it. Help me to love myself in this situation. And if I can't, help me to see what is blocking me from accepting and fully loving myself. Go through the repentance process, really engage with divine power. And as you do this, as you ask to be aware of, really use that gift of discernment to recognize when you're in an ego energy where you're edging God out and choosing to get in the space of self-love, self-acceptance, where you're forgiving yourself and you're giving yourself grace. When we can do this on a more regular basis, you will find that your biology enjoys being in a place of self-acceptance and self-love. Your mind will feel clear. It will feel sharp. You will feel inspired, and you will receive divine insight. So you'll feel this confidence where I'm gaining understanding. I'm receiving wisdom. I'm in a space of light and truth. Biologically, that allows these beautiful chemicals that are happy chemicals to be dumped into our system. And our system will start wanting that. It will start looking for that. Another thing that will happen is it will calm our nervous system down. It helps us get out of fight or flight, where we're hyper vigilant and always on guard. It's kind of like the engine is revved up, but you're going nowhere. You're in park. So as we practice discerning when we might be shifting into ego energy, where we're edging God out, and we make a choice in that moment to go into self-acceptance, let me see things as they really are and accept it, and let me get to a place of love, love for self. Now, one of the ways I like to shift into let me see things as they really are, and let me accept it with no judgment, and let me get to a place of love is I go to gratitude. I'm telling you, for me, it works. Maybe you do that wonderful little script where you take the 3 deep breaths. I recognize in this moment, I am a student, I am learning, I see I'm in this program of ego. I'm totally minimalizing something, or I'm totally blaming, or whatever it is. I choose to see things as they really are. I am so grateful I can take this moment, this pause, and be in a space of enlightenment, be in a space of having insight. And when I'm in a space of gratitude, when I can say, I'm grateful I'm learning, I'm grateful that I can choose, I'm grateful that I can gain insight, boy, that gratitude space really helps us shift into love. Love that I'm in this circumstance and I'm learning. Love that I love myself, that I have the power to do this, that I'm able to literally change what my body is craving and where it feels good and safe, where I can be in gratitude and love, calm the nervous system down, help stay out of anxiety or anger or fear or whatever your go-to emotion is when you're in that fight or flight circumstance. It's so beautiful when you can shift into that. And again, my superpower, what really helps me go fastest into self-love is gratitude. And in that space of gratitude and self-love, I'm going to invite you to really remember to give yourself grace, because God does, and He will. And if you need to work through something that's blocking you, if you recognize you're stuck in a pattern of thought that really isn't in light and love, or you're stuck in a feeling that just keeps you from feeling gratitude for very long, it keeps shifting you back into fear or shifting you back into anxiety or hatred or bitterness or whatever it is, allow that space of grace. I can do this. I'm learning. I don't have to have it all perfect now. I just need to start changing my programming. And when you can be aware that you're in faulty programming or programming that has kept you stuck or has been a self-sabotaging experience, and you can just ask for help, and you can consciously, with your agency, choose something different, you're going to find that this shifts and changes pretty quickly. Your body really does love those really happy hormones that you can feel peace and you can feel confidence and you can feel encouragement. And it really does help us give ourselves the space to learn, and in a healthy way. And that self-talk changes to, I can do this. I know how. I'm choosing, and I love my choice. And it keeps us in that high vibrational state, which encourages, invites, and attracts other high vibrational light and truth energies into our energy field. And it really does build on each other, just like the opposite of feeling fearful or anxious or angry builds on each other. This is just the same pattern, the same universal principles, only it's for our benefit and for our good, once we can understand and discern what's going on and make a different choice. So that's my little video about ego versus self-love, self-acceptance, and that place of giving grace to yourself, which will produce confidence. Thanks for tuning in again. Until next time, friends. Bye.